As a mother, one thing you always find yourself doing is cooking, whether you have the strength or not, whether you like it or not, whether you're in the mood or not. Thinking of what to prepare sometimes is even the worst, but we move. On this particular day, I wanted to make egusi soup and I also wanted to make okra soup. Having multiple burners working for me is really a lifesaver. It saves me the stress of cooking a soup before another. I just sometimes cook them at once. Cook with me as I share a story with you of how I made my first soup. The first soup I ever made was egusi soup. When I was younger, I used to like egusi soup a lot. Even though it has changed ever since I became an adult, I like to eat okra soup now and I never get tired of eating it, especially with different methods of cooking it and adding different orishi. So I was 10 years old when I made my first soup, which was a egusi soup. So on that very day, you know, one thing with growing children, they would always want to do what they are not asked to do. And when they reach that age that they are asked to do that thing, they frown at it and get tired of doing it. So on that fateful day, I just felt gingered and, to make something for the family. So at that time, we're using charcoal oven. It was very common in my area then. So I made up the fire. If you use charcoal oven, you know what I'm talking about. We used to call it coal pot. My God, the memories are just coming back like a flash. So I just made up the fire and got the pot. I was so happy, ginger, like I was like thinking of what my mom was going to say when she comes back, the joy. I was so filled with joy, honestly. So after doing that, I placed the pot and I started to cook. I made this soup and I think I remembered using dried bitter leaf, soaked it in the water, and for a 10 years old, it wasn't that bad. I added every ingredient into the soup like I used to see my mom do, and I was anxiously hoping and praying that this soup better come out tasting good because I wanted to brag about that soup because all the children in my compound has already gathered in anticipation of how that soup was going to come out. So I was so anxious. Even the adult neighbors, they were like, wow, you're making your first soup. So fortunately, doing everything the way I used to see my mother do it, everything was coming out so great. So this is a very long time. I can't remember everything in details, but I shall know that I cooked egusi soup. So when it came to the vegetables, because it wasn't something that was planned, like I had to use dry bitter leaf. I don't know if you've ever done that before. You wash the bitter leaf. After washing it, you spray it in the sun, and when it is dried, you now package it. This is usually done where you cannot find bitter leaf. So we used to do that a lot when I was growing up. My mother would buy a lot of bitter leaf and wash them and, allow it to dry, and they will preserve it in a bag. So when I couldn't get any other leaf, I had to use that dry bitter leaf. Even though I don't like using bitter leaf then, I just had to do it. And I think that was one of the things I didn't like about adding to the soup. So I soaked the bitter leaf in the water, allowed it to soften up, washed it thoroughly to get rid of any sand in case if there are sands, and then I added it to the soup. After adding it to the soup, I allowed it to cook for a while and then brought it down. Next was to cook fufu. That was a very serious business. If you know how to cook fufu, I mean cassava, I mean akpu, I mean loi. If you know how to cook cassava, you know that it takes a lot of strength to pound cassava, and for a 10-year-old it wasn't really easy. So the first time I added the water to the pot, allowed it to come to a boil, and added the first one. So the first one wasn't that difficult to pound. After pounding the first one, I then added it back to the pot for the final one, because this is how we cook our cassava then. So guys, here is where it became funny to me whenever I remember. The second one was very strong. I used all of my strength and all of my might to pound this fufu. Guys, no matter how much I hit it hard, the cassava was just getting strong. I added water, and with the strength of a 10 years old, honestly, I couldn't do much. So at the end, I just had to, pound, 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 and just wrap everything up. And I was like, oh, I've done a good job. I've tried. I brought out our cooler where we store our fufu after cooking and washed the cooler, and as in added everything into the cooler and kept it, and was waiting for my mother with so much happiness and joy. Like, I made my first soup. Who you? I made my first soup. I was so happy. So I was waiting for her, and she came back. I joyfully served her this food. One thing I love about my mother is when you do something for the first time, like cooking or doing a house chores for the first time, she will always compliment you before pointing out the errors. So when I served her this food, she ate, and she was like, she complimented me for having the courage to even make the soup and the fufu when no one even asked me to. So she now told me this, that, but you did so well. The praises alone made me so happy that I wanted to do more. No wonder they said with God, when you thank him for the little he has done, he tends to do more. This is even applicable to us humans. When we are being appreciated for what we do, no matter how little it is, we tend to do more. So after that day, I continued cooking and making soups little by little, and thank God for those times, because they have really shaped me into what I am now as a mother of 4. I am so grateful for those times. I hope you enjoyed this brief childhood story of mine, because more are coming. Please, if you did, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, share to your friends and family, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Also turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know whenever I upload a new video. Thank you very much for watching. See you in my next one. Bye.